A few hours earlier, I was living a normal life. Then I was laying on an operating table while doctors worked inside the artery that was trying to kill me. I was 34 years old, having a heart attack, and I needed 2 stents in order to survive. So I found out that I had a 95% blockage of my LAD artery and an 80% blockage of another artery, but I didn't find this out right away. February 15th, 2026, I've told the story in the other 2 episodes. If you haven't watched them, go back and watch them now. I'll give you a little brief overview. February 15th, 2026, I was having a heart attack. I was having major symptoms of a heart attack for hours during the day on a Sunday. I did my normal activities, continued on, pressed through the pain until the pain became too much. When that happened, I finally got honest with my wife and told her something's going on. I think I need a nap today because I feel like my heart is shutting down.
You have been looking like rough. Are you dying?
I think I might be. I think that I need help. At which point she began the process of convincing me to go to the hospital. Okay. I listened to her eventually because I didn't want to leave this earth and leave my children knowing that if all I had to do to survive was go to the hospital and that I didn't do, I would never rest in peace if that was the circumstance. I needed to at least go get help. I knew I needed help, so we went. Okay. When we got to the hospital and they did the EKG, they checked my blood pressure and then rushed me back and then did an EKG. And when they did the EKG, it must have lit up like a Christmas tree because everybody freaked out. Fast forward now, I had to get driven by an ambulance over to another hospital that had a full cath lab because where we went didn't have a full cath lab. Long story, I've explained it in other videos. If you want to know more about that, I could tell you. But anyway, when we got to the hospital with the catheterization lab, the intervention cath lab, whatever you want to call it, it was like I was on a gurney from the ambulance into the new hospital. And once I got into the hospital, it was like they immediately pushed me into this room that they called a cath lab. I did not know what that meant. I didn't know what a cath lab was at the time. I'm very familiar with it now. And when we got there, we're in the hospital. We're in this area. There's like other people that are going through different heart things. I'm in the cardiac area. It's very surreal being 34 years old, being pushed on a gurney by ambulatory workers, by EMT, paramedics. They're pushing me in this hospital. The white lights of the hospital is so bright, smells like alcohol, smells like sterile and dirty at the same time. That's, that hospital smell, and people all walking around, and you don't know whose family members are doing bad, you don't know nothing. And you don't know if you're going to be okay. I didn't know if I was going to be okay. And they're pushing me in to this hospital, and they got me in quick. I have to give credit to HCA Emergency Freestanding, and I have to give credit to the paramedics, and I have to give credit to the HCA West Side. Everybody involved with my emergency, whether it's God ordained or what, was like on point the entire time, getting me the help that I needed. So I want to say thank you. If any of you that helped me see this video or have seen any of my other videos, I just want to say thank you to the paramedics. And if you're not the people that helped me, but you're a paramedic, a doctor, a nurse, thank you. You guys are great. You guys are amazing. So they pushed me in, and next thing you know, I'm in the cath lab, and I get pushed in there, and then they lay me down. They asked me to sign. They asked me to sign consent forms, and I look at the forms. I'm looking at the form, and it says all this, crazy stuff. Transfusion. Do I have a choice? I'm having a heart attack. I don't know what stents are. I didn't know what a stent was at all. I just knew I had a blockage, and the stent was going to fix it. Like that's as much as I knew. I signed. Obviously, I signed right away. So I signed a consent form. Once I did that, they laid me down on this other bed. They transferred me to this other bed, and they started like cleaning my arm and cleaning this and doing, like, putting all this stuff on me. Like, I guess there's a lot of radiation from the machinery, so I got lead, like, all over me. Like, I'm like with like a weighted blanket, like I couldn't move. I was just like frozen to the table like that. And I can barely see, but I see the screen. And then the doctor came in, and the doctor was very confident, was very sure that I was going to be okay. I'm asking them, are you guys going to have to crack my chest? Are you guys going to have to do this? Are you going to have to do that? They're reassuring me, we're not going to have to crack your chest. We're going to go in. We're going to see what's going on. And I didn't find out how blocked my arteries were until after. I don't know if they knew before. I don't think that you know until they go in. So, but that's what happened. So they went in and they started the procedure. And it was like, I want to say the worst pain I ever felt in my life. I didn't know that I was going to feel like I was having a heart attack all over again. We're, doing all this in there, and it was bad. It was very, very, very painful. They went in, they did that, and then they finished. And when they finished, the doctor was like, "Okay, you're good." And I was like, "Am I okay now? Am I fixed? Like, is it okay?" Like, I was like so scared, man. And they put me in the ICU room to recover. And I felt like funny. My chest felt funny. I clearly just underwent some major thing in my chest. It felt like, oh my God, that feeling was so bad. It felt like I still felt pressure. I still felt a little pain. I felt like they were just inside of me doing something. It was terrible. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. That part of it was absolutely terrible. A short while after that, this doctor came in that wasn't the doctor, and she said, "Has anybody spoken to you yet?" And I was like, "No, nobody has spoken to me yet." She was like, "Listen," she was like, "How old are you?" I was like, I'm 34. She was like, "You survived the Widowmaker." And I was like, "What do you mean? I survived the Widow? What is that?" I was like, "What does that mean?" And she was like, your she's like, "Your LAD, your Widowmaker artery was like just about 100% blocked. And that's the one that kills everybody." And I remember this lady told me this, and I started to cry. This lady I never met, and she just told me this, and I started to cry because I had been being strong for so long during this process. I mean, only hours and hours, like hours, but like for hours, I was just holding it together, keeping everybody calm around me so my family wouldn't lose their minds, making jokes with the paramedics, making jokes with the nurses, lightening the tension in the rooms that I was in, because the rooms were tense because I was in them and I was the subject. Figured that one out. And it was like, it all came to a head when this lady told me what I just survived and how lucky I was. And I just started bawling my eyes out. And, a short while after that, my doctor came in, and I spoke to him, and he's like, "Yeah, you had 95% blockage." It was a surreal experience going through the getting 2 stents at this young age. And I didn't know what stents were, and I've been doing research now just to find out, like, a stent is a mesh metal piece that goes inside of a balloon. The balloon inflates in your artery and pushes the plaque against the lining of the artery, and then the mesh metal just kind of like opens up and holds it, open, and then scar tissue forms around that and creates this new pathway of, it doesn't get rid of the plaque, but it squishes it against the wall and opens up your arteries so you could have blood flow, So I had no clue about that. And then as I'm laying there thinking about these 2 pieces of metal that are in my heart now, I'm thinking in my head, I have something inside of me that wasn't inside of me before because I had a heart attack. In my mind, this is only old people that go through this, that have, I have a pacemaker, I have a whatever the device, I have metal in my hip, I have, that is, to me, that's how I thought. I was very naive about the circumstance, and I started going through this like identity crisis. Like, why am I having to have this inside of me? Why, you know, I even had thought at one point, like, can't they just flush it out? Like, why, you know, a lot of emotions there with that crisis. A lot of emotions involved with when you're somebody that's run ultra marathons. You do all these different things thinking that you're healthy, and now I have 2 pieces of metal inside of my heart. You know, it's neither here nor there at this point, but it's a fact. This is my stent card. All right. And this tells me where my stents are in my heart and how big they are, the model. And my stents are by a company called Medtronic. Shout out to Medtronic for saving my life. I can't get that to focus. There you go. It's kind of scary, to be honest with you, having this, knowing that, like, this makes it real. Like, there's stents in my heart. There's little pieces of metal inside of me. And, you know, I wouldn't trade that for the world, because without those little metal pieces of metal, without that advancement in technology, I'd be dead. So listen, we have episodes of this series, Rebuilding After Widowmaker, coming out every Sunday. I don't have a time that I drop them. I'm doing my best. But we have episodes every Sunday. And next Sunday, we are going to be talking about the fear that nobody talks about after having a heart attack. Okay? So if you haven't already, subscribe and comment. Leave me some ideas of topics that you might want to hear me cover in longer form, you know, content. I'm not sitting here thinking I have the best ideas. If you have an idea, bring it to me. And if it's a good idea and it resonates with me emotionally, I'll make a video about it. So thank you guys for watching.